And I think it's because people who don't want to get their coins put into slabs, who are going to keep their coins raw, they want to know, well, how do I store them? So you got to realize that these things are thousands of years old. Generally, they're going to be okay just in the air. And the only ones you really have to worry about are bronze coins. You don't want bronze coins to get, any place where there's humidity or moisture. So the days of keeping your coins in the basement, not a good idea. And especially when it comes to bronze coins, because they can get what's called green disease. And green disease actually is moisture gets into the metal. I'm sure some of you will get into the comments and give us a really nice history of that as well. Sure. But it'll eat away at the coin. It's like almost like a fluorescent green. Mm-hmm. And I had a show where we showed some bronze disease before.
Yeah, and some of the ancient coins, it gets really, really bright. I mean, like nothing you've ever seen on a modern coin.
It's fluorescent, and it will spread from bronze to bronze. So you got to be really careful. And so the only way to get rid of it is we used to back in the day have a alcohol vacuum chamber to suck the moisture out, but it would screw up all the surfaces. I think the best is just to actually mechanically scrape it out with a scalpel to just get that moisture out of there. And just,
I was going to say, what would your thought be on like maybe baking it?
I'm sure that there's some truth to that. I'm not a chemical guy, but
it just seems to me that if you warm it up, I'm not talking about really heating it up, but just warm it up, that the water will kind of dissipate.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if the process would accelerate or not, or have an issue. I think you have to still get rid of the actual disease part first. And I'm not talking about gouging the coin, guys. I'm like, you have to go under a microscope, and you have to just lightly flake it off and get it out.
You got to get rid of the clean, man.
Yeah, you gotta get rid of it. But gold and silver, other than silver tarnishing, like your silverware, you don't really have to worry about it too much. And keeping them in plastic flips for their entire life is not good. So I still think to this day, even though we don't do it because it's too hard to, obviously you can't see the coin, is keeping them in paper flips, because actually paper flips it's healthy for the coin and they'll tone over time, which some people really like. But I think the best way to store ancient coins is in trays, loose. You can get coin cases or a cabinet. Some of the wood, depending on the wood, the gas in the wood will actually tone the coins. And so years ago, it was in Gemini 1, when we were running our Gemini sales, we had a collection from a client of my dad's, and all the coins were stored at the Cincinnati Museum in wood trays, and the wood trays turn the coins violet, like rainbow colors, just like on US coins. And they were beautiful. And everybody thought, oh, this is fake patina. I'm like, no, it's not. They were sitting at this.
All toning is natural. It's really just a matter of how it gets there.
It is. And so, and some people, like a lot of people with ancient coins, they like toned ancients because it means that it's been out of the ground a long time, which then when we look at a toned coin, we're like, oh, it must have an old pedigree. And so that's like the
more likely
say. So, and I think people really like to see the toning on ancients for that same reason. And so I think the absolute best is to keep them in a nice case, or if you have the means to buy a cabinet.
And I mean, the ultra basics of, coin storage are, you want to keep it in a dry place, not necessarily cool, but you want to keep it in a dry place. And you want to avoid places that are either generally made of wood or things that are paper lined, because both of those will give off sulfur. And it's not, that it's bad that it tones the coins. It's that you really have no control over how it's going to tone. So it may be attractive. It may not be attractive. And then you have to deal with that.
I think it's more important in US coins than it is in ancients for that reason, because people will pay a premium for a rainbow toning on a Morgan dollar. I think
if it's done correctly, yes.
It's done correctly, so ancients it's not as important in the same way. And so, and I think a lot of that rainbow toning and things like that is more of an American phenomenon than it is a European phenomenon because of the US market.
Yeah, I think with American or with modern coins, it has more to do with a sense of originality, whereas there's no pretense of that with ancient coins. There's just none. They've been cleaned, they've